They thought they were dragging you down, not realizing they were poking at the one soul the universe had already marked for impact. Now they're about to learn, the hard way, that you don't corner the chosen without consequences. How dare they? How dare they look at your silence and call it surrender? How dare they mock your delay like it was defeat? They laughed behind closed doors, convinced they had won. They paraded their false victories, smeared your name, celebrated your isolation, thinking the universe was done with you. But what they didn't realize is this: the universe doesn't make noise when it prepares to shock. It aligns, it calculates, and then it strikes, with a force that silences every voice that ever spoke against you. They really believed you were finished, didn't they? They swore your story was over. They thought you'd stay stuck. They thought their words would become your truth. And that's where they made their biggest mistake. They thought you were just another person. They didn't know the universe was standing right behind you the whole time, waiting for the exact moment to show them what happens when someone messes with the chosen. Before we go deeper, pause and do this now. Like this video, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments if you know you were built for more. Because when you engage, you send out a signal, not just to YouTube, but to every other chosen one who needs this truth. This message, it's a call, a reminder, a fire starter. Don't keep it to yourself, let it ripple. Now, let's get into the truth. This is not just another story of resilience. This is a warning to every person who ever underestimated a force they couldn't comprehend. While they mocked you, you were becoming unshakable. While they laughed at your process, you were aligning with the very power that bends reality for its chosen ones. You didn't just survive, you were preparing. And now the universe is about to shock every single one of them. Chosen one, I need you to stop doubting your own power. I need you to stop entertaining thoughts of defeat just because things took longer than you expected. That waiting season, that silence, that delay, it wasn't punishment, it was precision. It was the universe pulling you back like an arrow, loading the pressure so when it released you, you'd fly farther than anything they ever saw coming. And while you sat there, feeling forgotten, do you know what they did? They gloated, they bragged, they weaponized your struggle like it was their trophy. They thought you were easy to beat, easy to erase. But what they didn't know is that the chosen are never abandoned. They are hidden. And now the hiding is over. The universe is about to put a spotlight on everything they tried to keep in the dark. Your comeback isn't just personal, it's a statement, a universal correction, a force that screams, this one you should have never touched. And the fear they feel now, that panic in their eyes, that's not guilt, it's realization. Realization that you're not broken, you're back. And this time, you're not walking, you're rising. Because when the universe moves on behalf of its chosen, it doesn't whisper, it shakes the ground. Let them watch. Let them remember every word they said. Let them sit in the tension of knowing the one they dismissed is the one now standing in full power. Because this isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. The universe is about to shock everyone who thought you were done, and it's going to do it through you. So here's your moment, not just to listen, but to lock in. If you've ever felt the sting of being counted out, if you've been the one they whispered about, laughed at, or looked past, then this message was carved for you. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you feel that shift in your spirit, because the universe doesn't just whisper to the chosen, it pulls them into alignment. Like, subscribe, stay. What's coming next will explain exactly why the shock they never saw coming is you. Now, lean in. Let's break it down step by step. Number 1. They thought no one was watching, but the universe took notes. While they laughed at your silence, the universe was loading a response that would echo louder than all their noise combined. They thought you were invisible. They assumed your quiet choices went unnoticed. You didn't fight back. You didn't shout your pain. You didn't retaliate when they crossed the line. Not once, but over and over. They took your peace for passivity, your self-control for weakness, your grace for permission. And now they're about to see what happens when the universe cashes in every seed planted in silence. Because while they were busy performing, you were aligning. And now that alignment is turning into shockwaves. They didn't see you when you kept showing up with broken pieces inside. They didn't care when you carried more than your share and still stood tall. They never acknowledged the inner wars you fought in silence, the rage you swallowed just to keep peace, the pain you buried just to keep moving. But the universe did. Every step, every choice, every time you could have snapped but didn't, it was recorded. And now those records are turning into results. Let's make this clear. The universe doesn't operate on claps. It doesn't reward loud mouths and fake facades. It moves for the authentic, for the chosen ones who kept building when no one clapped, kept believing when doubts screamed, and kept showing up when everything said they shouldn't. That's you, and this moment you're walking into. It isn't luck, it's the reckoning of every unseen act of integrity. But let's pause here, because we need to talk. You've doubted it, haven't you? You've looked at the timelines of others, the noise of the arrogant, the applause of the fake, and you've questioned whether your path still mattered. You've looked in the mirror and whispered, "What's the point of doing right if no one sees it?" And that's where you almost missed it, because they weren't ignoring you, they just couldn't perceive you. You're not like them. You were never meant to move with the crowd. You were selected to walk in alignment, and that walk often comes with silence, isolation, even ridicule. But here's the truth. While they played the system, you respected it. While they manipulated outcomes and ran their mouths, you let the universe lead. And now, the same system they tried to cheat is turning on them. Because they weren't just fighting you. They were fighting a force far bigger than both of you. And that force, that universal energy, it never loses track of its own. You were chosen not because you were loud, flashy, or favored by the crowd. You were chosen because you had the capacity to carry the unseen, the strength to choose stillness when war was easier, the courage to be light in a world that only celebrates fire. And now, that light is burning brighter than anything they can fake. So yes, let them panic, let them scramble, let them explain why the one they dismissed is now the one taking up all the space. Let them feel the weight of what they laughed at, now standing in full power, undeniable and untouched. Because this isn't about revenge, this is about balance, universal justice. What they thought was over is just beginning. And the spotlight, it's not on them anymore, it's on you. And to every chosen one still doubting, still wondering if the universe really saw what you endured, hear this: nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the betrayals, not the lonely nights where your only company was your own determination. The universe saw it all, and it's responding now. They thought no one was watching. They thought their arrogance would win. But what they didn't know is, the universe doesn't forget. And now, it's your time. The rise isn't just coming, it's already started. And the ones who thought you were done, they're about to be shocked. Number 2, you were the target. Now, you're the lesson. They aimed at you thinking you were the weak link. But all they did was teach the universe who needed to be humbled next. Let's speak truth. You didn't volunteer for this. You didn't ask to be the one they gossiped about in rooms they swore you'd never step into. You didn't sign up to be the target. They chose you, chose to twist your name, chose to mock your silence, chose to test your limits like the universe wasn't already on your side. And now, that same choice has become their biggest regret. They underestimated who they were dealing with. They saw you quiet and assumed that meant powerless. They saw your humility and mistook it for submission. But the thing about the chosen, they don't need to make noise to shake foundations. You were never the weak one. You were the wake-up call they didn't see coming. And now the universe is making an example out of you, not to shame you, but to expose them. You were the target. You took hit after hit, lie after lie. You let them laugh, let them spread their poison, let them keep the crowd entertained. But you didn't fall. You watched, you endured, you grew. And that growth, that's the part that haunts them now, because the more they tried to damage you, the more indestructible you became. But let's stop and talk about you for a minute, the one who still feels doubt lingering in the background like a ghost of the past. You asked yourself too many times, why me? You wondered if maybe you did something wrong, if maybe the pain was deserved, if maybe staying quiet made you weak. You let the weight of their noise pull you into places that made you question your own value. You forgot something vital. You weren't chosen to be liked. You were chosen to be refined. The universe never wastes a target. When it allows the chosen to be hit, it's not to destroy them, it's to prepare them. You were forged in betrayal, shaped in isolation, made stronger by every back turned and every lie spread. That wasn't punishment. That was pressure. And pressure, it doesn't destroy the chosen. It reveals them. Let's talk about them now, the ones who aimed, the ones who laughed, the ones who swore you were finished. Look at their lives, scrambling to hold on to the same illusion they used to tear you down, choking on the silence that's replaced the fake praise they used to swim in, watching you rise without their name in your mouth, and that's what hurts the most. You didn't even need revenge. You became one. You didn't have to explain. You didn't have to defend. The universe did it for you. Every room they tried to block you from, you're walking into it now, effortlessly. Every door they tried to shut in your face, the universe has kicked it off the hinges. And while they fumble with stories, trying to rewrite the narrative, you just keep moving. That's what power looks like. And it terrifies them, because now you're the lesson. You're the name people bring up when talking about who to never underestimate. You're the example people use when they talk about resilience. You're the proof that when the universe chooses someone, every attack becomes a setup. Every betrayal becomes fuel. Every rumor becomes a receipt. And those receipts, they're stacking. They thought you were the weak link, but the truth is, you were the only one holding integrity. And now that the spotlight has shifted, they're shrinking, because when it's time to stand next to you, they can't. You didn't just survive, you transformed. And the version of you that's showing up now, unbothered, unavailable, unmatched. And here's the cold truth. They need you now. They need your energy, your name, your validation. But the chosen don't circle back to beg for acceptance. They become the room. You were the target. Now you're the atmosphere. Now your presence is the lesson. Every laugh they had at your expense has become a knot in their throat when they see what you've become. Let them sit in that. But I'll say this too, stop doubting that you were built for this. Stop wondering if it was all too much, too painful, too heavy. It was heavy because it had weight. You carried something sacred, and sacred things are always attacked. Don't you ever forget that they weren't just fighting you, they were fighting the universal assignment on your life. And you wonder why everything felt so hard. Because what's on your name is heavy, and now the ones who tried to break you are being broken by the sight of your strength. You don't have to chase validation. You don't need an apology. The universe already made the correction. The shockwave that's coming, it's you. And no one, not one person, can stop what's already in motion. So stand tall, chosen one, not with arrogance, with awareness. You know who you are now. You know what you carry. You've been through the fire. Now it's time to walk in the fullness of what they thought they buried. Because you were the target, but now you're the lesson they'll never forget. Number 3, you took the high road, and now they have to watch you from below. They threw fire, hoping to turn you into ash, but you used it to light your way and left them choking on the smoke. They came for you, with their lies, their fake smiles, their whispered venom in rooms you weren't in. They wanted a reaction. They needed you to crack, to fold, to turn cold like them. But you didn't. You took the high road. And not because it was easy. No, you chose it while bleeding. You chose it when every bone in your body wanted revenge, when clapping back would have felt like justice, but you held the line. And that's a power most people don't have. You have no idea how rare that is, because they don't teach that kind of strength. You won't find it in a quote or a podcast or a 3-step program. That kind of strength is born in the trenches, in the silence after the betrayal, in the storm after the mask drops, in the loneliness of knowing you did right and got punished for it anyway. That's where your power was forged. And make no mistake, you could have hit back. You wanted to hit back. You had the truth. You had the receipts. You had the right. But you knew something they didn't. Not everything deserves your energy. You weren't just thinking about the moment. You were moving with vision. You knew that winning small battles wasn't worth losing your soul. And now, while they're still throwing shade from the basement, you're building on higher ground. But let's not pretend like it didn't hurt, like it didn't tear something open inside you to keep choosing peace while you were being disrespected. You had nights where your pillow soaked up everything your pride wouldn't let you say out loud. You've felt that deep ache, the one where silence feels like surrender. And you've asked yourself, did I make a mistake by not clapping back? Let me answer that for you. No, you didn't lose anything by choosing grace. You gained everything, because that restraint, that clarity, that refusal to become what tried to break you, that's not weakness, that's mastery. That's the universe saying, I trust you with power because you've shown you know when not to use it. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about being soft. Grace isn't weakness, it's war strategy. You didn't walk away because you were scared. You walked away because you refused to let their mess stain your legacy. You chose to keep your energy clean while they polluted everything around them, and now the consequences are landing exactly where they belong, on them. They don't tell you this part, but people remember how you handled them. Long after the drama dies down, long after the rumors fade, they remember who moved with class and who moved like chaos in a human body. And now, you are the one being whispered about, but not as a victim, as a blueprint, as the one who stayed real when it would have been easier to turn bitter. And let me speak directly to the doubt still sitting in the back of your mind, the voice saying, but they got away with it. No, they didn't, because here's what you don't see. They have to live with themselves, with the truth, with the fact that their entire win was built on lies and projection. That kind of weight, it rots people from the inside. You don't have to lift a finger. The universe is already pressing on them. And what are you doing? Rising, quietly, steadily, without needing to broadcast your every move. That's power. That's legacy. You didn't just survive the fire. You learned how to walk through it without smelling like smoke. Let them live with the decision they made. Let them wrestle with the fact that even with every chance to become like them, you chose better. You stayed true. You kept your crown on even when they were throwing mud. That's why the universe is about to shock them with how high you rise, because your elevation is a reward for your restraint. So the next time you question why you didn't snap, remember this: the high road isn't empty. It's just reserved for the real ones. And you're walking it like it was made for you. Now let them look up. Number 4. Blessings coming isn't a favor. It's the universe paying you back with interest. They thought you were lucky, but the truth is, the universe is just repaying what they could never afford to take from you. Let's make one thing clear. What's coming to you isn't charity. It's not a stroke of luck. It's not a random right place, right time story they'll try to spin later. No, it's compensation. It's the universe responding to every moment you stayed solid when you had every reason to fold. These blessings, they're not favors. They're proof. You didn't get here by accident. You earned this in the dark. In silence, in spaces where no one was clapping for you, no one was checking on you, and no one was offering you anything but obstacles. And what did you do? You kept moving, not because you had certainty, but because something in your spirit refused to stop. That something, that's what they couldn't understand. That's what scared them. See, they thought you'd quit. They wanted you to quit. They kept throwing delays, distractions, and disrespect your way, hoping one of them would finally break you. But you didn't break. You bent, you bled, but you didn't break. You didn't need promises. You didn't need applause. You needed vision, and you had it, even when it hurt to hold on to it. So now that the doors are opening, don't minimize what's happening. Don't you dare downplay your rise. The universe isn't giving you a handout. It's delivering a return on the nights you stayed up battling doubt. On the days you stayed kind in the face of cruelty. On the moments you chose discipline over drama, peace over pettiness, alignment over applause. You were always the one, even when they laughed, even when they called your dreams delusional, even when they looked at your life and thought it would never amount to anything. You stayed loyal, not to them, but to your truth. You listened to something higher, something deeper, something that can't be explained with logic. And that's why it worked. And chosen one, let me be blunt. Some of you forgot what you're carrying. You let the delay fool you. You let silence feel like rejection. You started questioning the path just because it didn't come with GPS. But what you didn't see is that while you were questioning yourself, the universe was preparing everything behind your back. That long wait. It was set up, not set back. Now look at the irony. The same ones who thought you were out of the game are now trying to figure out how you got ahead without their validation. They swore you needed them. They thought your survival depended on their approval. But here you are, rising in plain sight, and they can't stop it. They can't touch it, because they never built it. You did. And now it's your season, not because some vague idea of timing decided to bless you, but because you qualified for it. You didn't just show up. You endured. You resisted the urge to become bitter. You kept planting seeds when you had no proof a harvest was coming. And that harvest, it's arriving, heavy, overflowing, and public. Let them say it's luck. Let them pretend they didn't see the struggle. Let them act confused. That's not your problem. Your only job now is to receive and trust. This kind of reward only comes to the ones who stayed grounded when the world tried to shake them loose. This is what happens when a chosen one refuses to back down. The blessings come like waves, not because you're better, but because you battled through worse. These blessings are your receipts. Every moment you kept silent when you could have exposed them. Every time you stayed real when it would have been easier to play the game. Every hard decision that cost you comfort but kept you in alignment. They thought you were losing. But what they didn't know is that the universe doesn't reward noise. It rewards authenticity. It rewards resilience. And now it's your time, not just to rise, but to shine so hard it blinds everyone who doubted your ability to survive without their approval. The blessings coming are not grace, they are justice, and they're arriving on time. Your time. Number 5. You're not just ready, you're aligned. And now the universe is responding. They tried to block your blessings, not knowing they weren't the source. Now the universe is about to show everyone why silence isn't weakness, it's preparation. This is the shift, the part they never saw coming, the part you didn't even know you were building toward, that quiet storm inside of you. It's no longer just pressure, it's momentum. The energy around you is changing. You can feel it, can't you? Even if you're unsure, even if your nervous system hasn't caught up to your spirit yet, something is different. Things are moving, doors are cracking open, and what once resisted you is starting to respond to you. This isn't by accident, this isn't random. This is what happens when the chosen stop doubting, stop shrinking, stop trying to survive, and finally step into their readiness. You've been planting for seasons in soil no one saw. You've been glowing in the dark, where it was hard, where it was lonely, where it felt like nothing was ever going to shift. And still, you kept going. You kept speaking over yourself. You kept creating when no one was clapping. You kept choosing to believe, even when the belief was threadbare. But let's be honest, joy doesn't feel natural right now, does it? There's a part of you that's still waiting for the other shoe to drop, still afraid to relax, to receive, to breathe. After all, you've spent so long in fight mode that peace almost feels like a trap. You walk into blessings with your guard up, scanning for betrayal. You smile, but only halfway, because part of you still thinks it's temporary, still thinks you have to earn something you already survived for. Let me break that lie right now. You're not waiting for readiness, you're walking in it. You didn't show up by accident. This version of you, the one standing in clarity, resilience, and raw truth. That's the result of every breakdown you turned into a breakthrough. You didn't pray it perfect, you lived it real. That's what got the universe's attention. You see, the universe doesn't reward perfection, it rewards persistence. And while others were busy performing, you were becoming, quietly, steadily, with scraped knees and a tired heart, but with relentless soul. And now that soul is finally catching its return. But let me speak to the part of you still clinging to doubt, the version of you still asking, is it really my time? Yes, it is. Because now you're not just surviving out of instinct, you're receiving out of alignment. You've stopped forcing, begging, chasing, and when the chosen stop chasing, the universe delivers. And this delivery, it's personal. It's not just success, it's restoration. It's the energy you poured into people who gave you nothing back, finally coming full circle. It's the clarity you gained by choosing silence over petty battles. It's the blessing that they tried to interrupt, still arriving right on time. And those people, the ones who doubted you, they're watching now, confused, bitter, stunned, because you're glowing from places they thought they destroyed. You're expanding from spaces they tried to shrink. And the scariest part for them, you didn't need them to get here. That's the part they can't handle, because it proves what you always carried wasn't dependent on anyone but the universe itself. So don't retreat now. Don't apologize for receiving. Don't try to explain why things are shifting in your favor. Let it come. Let it pour. Let it crash into your life unapologetically. This isn't a moment to be humble and quiet. This is your moment to own that you were built for more. And now it's here. You were faithful when it hurt. You were focused when it would have been easier to fall apart. And now, the very energy you kept protecting is what's drawing abundance to you like a magnet. No more begging, no more bargaining. You're not just ready, you're chosen. And the universe, it's finally giving the answer they tried so hard to block. You were never done. You were just getting started. Number 6. You didn't just change, you elevated, and now everything else has to catch up or fall off. They tried to handle you like the old version, but the new you, untouchable. And now the energy around you is rearranging, not for them, but for you. This isn't just change, this is transformation, and the people around you are starting to feel it, even if they can't explain it. They sense something different, the tone in your voice, the fire in your silence, the way you walk in the room and don't need to prove anything anymore. That's not ego, that's alignment. You didn't just heal, you activated. And now the universe is responding, tangibly, visibly, with real shifts, not just signs, not just feelings, moves, people falling off, opportunities lining up, energy correcting itself. And it's not a coincidence, it's a reaction. You changed, so everything else has to. The old energy can't live where the evolved version of you stands. But let's not water this down. This wasn't easy. You didn't wake up one day glowing with peace and confidence. You got dragged through fire for this version. You had to bleed for this clarity. You cried in silence, endured being misunderstood, abandoned, betrayed, and you still didn't fold. You adjusted, you reflected, you elevated, and now you're not available for anything that doesn't speak the same truth you bled for. You used to beg for connection. Now you protect your peace like a fortress. You used to overextend yourself to be accepted. Now you sit back and observe who's real enough to rise with you. That's evolution. That's the kind of shift that rattles people, especially the ones who only knew how to benefit from your brokenness. Because the version of you they knew, the one they could manipulate, gaslight, mock, or ignore, that version's gone, dead, buried. And the person standing now, still gentle, still real, is no longer available for nonsense, no longer interested in proving, chasing, or pleasing. That's power, that's presence, and it doesn't go unnoticed. They feel it. Trust me, they feel it. The shift in your energy isn't quiet. It's shaking their reality. And now people are either rising to meet you or fading away, and you're not even lifting a finger. That's how strong your alignment is. When a chosen one truly steps into their evolved self, the universe doesn't just support them, it protects them forcefully. But some of you are still trying to make the old energy fit, still asking, why does it feel like I'm losing everyone? Let me be blunt, you're not losing people, you're losing access points for your former self. And that's the point. You didn't come this far to stay in the same cycle. You didn't go through all that growth just to shrink again for comfort. No, you've changed, and that change demands a new atmosphere. You've known how to endure. That's survival. Now you're about to remember how to receive. That's living. You've done the hard work, the reflection, the inner shifts. You've finally stopped questioning whether you're too much, and started realizing that most people were just not enough for the depth you carry. And now the universe is bringing people, places, and opportunities that speak your new language. Let them talk. Let them fall off. Let them say, you've changed. Yes, and thank the universe you did, because staying the same would have killed your potential. You didn't come here to be liked. You came here to become. And now you're becoming the version of you they were never ready for. This is your confirmation. The shift is real. The change is permanent. And the universe, it's done whispering. It's about to deliver. Get ready, not just emotionally, but practically, because what's about to happen isn't subtle. It's not a vibe. It's a move. And everything not built to support this version of you will either evolve or vanish. You've changed, and now the world has no choice but to adjust. Number 7. They played with your name. Now the universe is playing with their plans. They thought smearing your name would dim your future, but they forgot the universe doesn't build on lies. It exposes them. They didn't just doubt you, they tried to redefine you. Piece by piece, whisper by whisper, they twisted your image to fit a version of you that was easier to disrespect. They couldn't handle your truth, so they tried to rewrite it. They couldn't compete with your presence, so they tried to poison your absence. They played with your name like it had no weight, but now that name is haunting them in places they thought were safe. Let's talk about it. You didn't ask for war. You didn't want the drama. All you wanted was peace. Peace to move in your lane, grow in your silence, build your vision without interference. But some people can't stand what they don't understand. And instead of facing their own insecurity, they chose to target you. You became the topic, the scapegoat, the enemy in a narrative you didn't even sign up for. They lied on you because the truth was too heavy. They gossiped because your growth made them uncomfortable. They tried to play God with your name, rewriting your story in ink they thought would never run. But here's what they didn't expect. The universe was listening. The universe doesn't just hear what you say, it watches what you do when you think no one's watching. And while they were busy trying to control how others saw you, they exposed how small they really were. That wasn't strategy. That was self-sabotage disguised as power. And now, the very lies they spoke are building cages around their plans. Because the thing about false narratives, they eventually collapse under the weight of real results. And you, chosen one, are the living contradiction to every story they spun. You didn't chase them down. You didn't defend yourself in every room. You didn't get online trying to explain your side. You just kept building, kept walking, kept rising. And now that your life is becoming the evidence, their narrative is unraveling in real time. Not because you fought back, but because the truth fought for you. But let's not skip over the pain, because yes, it hurt. Being misunderstood by people you once trusted, that cuts deep. Knowing your name was in mouths that smiled in your face. That's a different kind of betrayal. You felt that. You carried that. You even started to question if it was easier to just go back to being silent, invisible, disconnected. But the fact that you didn't, the fact that you kept moving through the fog, trusting that clarity would come. That's why the universe is moving now. This is justice, not coincidence. And the most poetic part, the very people who weaponized your name are now watching that name get called in rooms they'll never enter. That name is getting honored, protected, respected, not because you demanded it, but because the universe corrected it. You're not just being redeemed, you're being reintroduced as the version of yourself they tried to bury. Now, their plans are crumbling, connections are falling apart, opportunities are closing. Why? Because the energy they built their influence on was corrupt. They tried to elevate by diminishing someone chosen, and the universe doesn't let that slide. They didn't just play with your name. They played with the alignment. They messed with a sacred current, and now that current is flooding their foundation. And you don't need revenge. Your success is the revenge. Your peace is the punishment. Your name in the right rooms is the closure. So stop wondering if you should have done more. You did exactly what needed to be done. You endured. You stayed grounded. You trusted that universal balance would eventually show up. And now it is. Loudly, publicly, powerfully. Let them explain themselves. Let them scramble to maintain their fake image. Meanwhile, you continue to evolve, unbothered. Because once the universe puts its hand on your life, no one's opinion can cancel it. No lie can stop it. No noise can slow it down. They thought your name was theirs to play with. But now, your name is the storm they didn't see coming, and the universe is just getting started. Number 8. They used to watch you fall. Now they study your every move. They used to laugh when you stumbled. Now they take notes every time you stand. There was a time when your failure was entertainment. Your setbacks were the highlight of their conversations. Every loss, every misstep, every delay in your progress gave them something to mock. They waited for you to fall. And when you did, they clapped. Not because they were better, but because they were terrified of what would happen if you ever figured out who you really are. They didn't support you, they watched you, and not with hope, with hunger. They waited for weakness. They wanted to see you crawl, to confirm their fantasy that the chosen one couldn't really rise. Because if you could overcome what you were going through, if you really were built for more, then it meant everything they were clinging to was less. So they watched, from a distance, from behind fake concern, from behind closed doors and group chats. They studied your pain like it was proof of your limits. But here's what they didn't expect. You didn't stay down. You got up every time, quietly, powerfully, without begging, without announcing, without needing to clap back. And that comeback, that silent, disciplined transformation, it shifted everything. Now, the same people who waited for your fall are obsessed with your rise. They watch you, but not with laughter, with silence, with envy, with discomfort, because you've become something they can't categorize, can't predict, and definitely can't control. You were the storyline they tried to close, and now you're the blueprint they're studying behind the scenes. They don't cheer for you, but they mimic you. They don't congratulate you, but they watch your every move. They don't speak your name in public, but they whisper it in private with curiosity, frustration, and confusion. Because now the power dynamic has flipped. You're the one they're learning from. You're the one they can't outpace. You're the one who became unavailable for their games. Let's call it what it is. You outgrew the role they tried to trap you in. They wanted you small, unsure, desperate for approval. That version of you was easier to control. But the real you, the aligned, focused, powerful you, they're not ready for that. That's why they study from the shadows. That's why they copy but never credit. That's why they're watching harder than ever, because deep down they know you made it without them. But chosen one, let's pause here, because I know there were days when you almost believed them, when their silence made you question your voice, when their laughter made you question your strength, when you wondered if you were actually the joke. But let this be the confirmation you needed. They laughed not because you were weak, but because they were afraid of your potential. And now, that potential has turned into presence. You walk in rooms and change the atmosphere. You don't even need to speak. Your evolution speaks for you. You are the reminder of what real growth looks like, and that reminder haunts them. They used to mock your dreams. Now they mirror your moves. They used to count you out. Now they can't stop counting your wins. And you're not doing it for applause. You're not asking for attention. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just being, and that being is louder than all their noise ever was. This is what happens when the chosen ones rise. This is what happens when you stay committed to the path, even when it's lonely, quiet, or misunderstood. This is what happens when you stop explaining and start becoming. So let them study, let them analyze, let them keep watching with confused eyes and bitter hearts. You don't owe them closure, you don't owe them conversation, you owe them distance, because they used to watch you fall. And now, they can't look away as you rise, step by step, move by move, into everything they said you'd never become. Number 9, this is your season of payback, and the whole room will feel it. They thought you skipped steps. Let them think that. What they missed was every silent battle that made you unshakable. Now the universe is pulling the curtain back, and your rise will be their revelation. You didn't skip a single step. You felt every inch of the process, the nights where your body was tired, but your mind kept fighting. The days you showed up anyway, holding back your truth because the room wasn't ready for your reality. The moments where you chose silence over self-destruction. Nobody handed you this. Nobody carried you to this place. You walked it, bruised, alone, misunderstood, but you walked. And now, the shift has arrived. Not because it's finally your turn, but because it's your season of honor. The season the universe handpicked for the ones who kept their soul intact while everything around them tried to tear it apart. You don't need to explain how you got here. Let them wonder, let them gossip, let them create whatever story helps them sleep at night. They weren't there when the tears hit your pillow. They weren't there when you chose peace over revenge. They weren't there when you held back everything you could have said just to preserve your integrity. You were seen, just not by them. You were seen by the universe itself. The universe was keeping score when no one else was watching. Every time you gave your last and got nothing back, recorded. Every time you poured love into people who gave you betrayal in return, documented. Every time you chose growth over clapping back, tallied. And now, the universe is about to honor all of it, in public. They won't be able to deny it. You feel different because you are different. Your presence has changed. You walk different. You discern energy faster. You leave the room earlier. You no longer chase what confuses you or compromise just to feel accepted. That's not ego. That's elevation. That's the result of becoming in silence. That's the fruit of spiritual maturity that came through fire, not fantasy. And here's what they never expected. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd snap. They thought you'd beg to be let back in after they shut the door. But you didn't just survive the shut door. You built a new one. And now they have to knock. You've stopped accepting crumbs because you finally understand who you are. You were born to command the feast, not compete for a seat. You were always the one. You just needed to go through enough fire to remember it. Let them think you changed. You did. You had to. You had to let go of the version of yourself who kept shrinking to make others comfortable. You had to release the parts of you that begged for love you were always worthy of. Just so you could finally step into the space that was built for your truth. This is not just a reward season. This is a correction, a cosmic adjustment. The universe is repositioning you in the exact place they said you'd never reach. And the beauty is, you're not just rising externally. You've already risen internally. That's the real reward. Who you became while waiting. Who you chose to be when no one clapped, when no one believed, when no one stayed. So now, when the blessings start pouring in, don't flinch. Don't question if you deserve it. Don't sabotage the very thing you fought to align with. Stand in it. Own it. Let them whisper. Let them speculate. But never explain. Because what's coming to you wasn't handed to you. It was earned in silence, and it's being honored in power. This is your season of honor, not because you were perfect, but because you refused to pretend, because you stayed present, stayed grounded, and stayed true to the version of yourself that didn't chase noise, only alignment. Now, the noise is behind you, and the crown, it fits. And now here you are, not just standing, but commanding. Every fall they watched, every lie they told, every time they counted you out, it all led to this moment. The universe is responding, and your rise is the shock they never prepared for. If this message hit your spirit, like this video, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your comeback in full. Share this with another chosen one who's rising in silence. Let them know we don't just return. We return unstoppable. And this is only the beginning.